Hey, what is going on, everybody? Bauer Brown here. Welcome back to the channel, guys, and welcome to another video in the Blender tutorial series. Alrighty, so last video, we created a simple wall, very simple. I hope that you guys saved it because we'll be applying textures to that wall in an upcoming video when we start getting into texturing and stuff like that. We will have other objects that we're going to be building at some point where we will be texturing those as well. So if you did not save the wall, not a huge deal. It's easily recreated. So you could always do that again, or you could just skip that altogether because we will be getting into other forms of texturing, like other objects and stuff like that. So anyhow, I hope there was something to be learned. I wanted to do a bit more with, that video than what I did, instead of just a simple wall. But we're going to get into one more object here. And this is going to demonstrate just a few more of the techniques that we had learned, maybe some modifiers, stuff like that. So I'm going to jump right into it, and we are going to build in this one some kind of post. I was looking on Google, just checking out some images of what we wanted to do. I was going to build a fence, but these are all really easy things. But like I said, I want to incorporate a few different techniques into this. So what I'm looking at is something along the lines of this, called the U channel, right? It's basically a signpost. You can bolt a sign somewhere, somewhere up in here. You can bolt on a sign. Whoops, didn't want to do that. But anyhow, if you look here, it even gives us the dimensions that we can work with 3/8 inch holes on 1-inch centers. All right, that should be okay. Length of 10 feet. Not sure I'm going to be using that, but anyhow, you get the idea. Another thing that I want to point out to you guys, and this is something worth knowing. When you start working on models and stuff, there's a site that I use a lot, and it's called dimensions.com. Now, it is a paid site, but the information that you're after is going to all be free, right? So it's not a big deal. So anything that you're looking to build, like literally, you can get all of the dimensions of literally anything off of this website. I mean, God, if you want the dimensions of Ryled Reynolds or David Chang or Alfred Hitchcock, there you go. I mean, dimensions for cats but anyhow, they have literally everything in here, and it gives you some pretty decent ideas of how you want to build things, right? So just keep that in mind. It's just a little tip for you guys. All right, so like I said, we're going to build like this U channel, and it's something that could be used, as I guess a fence post, right, or a sign post. I was going to do a different type of fence post for like a barbed wire fence, but I think this is more in line with some of the techniques I want to show you. All right, so for this fence post, all right, we want to give it this the shape. If you look at the shape of this, right, let me see if I can get in my mode here. I'm going to try to pick up this key shape that you see there. All right, so I'm going to build something pretty much of like what you see. All right, so we need to have that gives us an idea anyhow of what we want to do. So let's get back into Blender here, and I'm guessing that's probably like 1/8 inch, like some kind of 1/8 inch stamped steel, like maybe like it's just that they put it in like a break or something like that. Yeah, it is. Well, it says 1 3/8 inch channel depth. I'm not sure I'm going to stick with that, but yeah, I believe that's about 1/8 inch steel. Now I'll show you something cool on. I think I showed you part of this already. I'm going to bring up my N. I'm going to press N. Let me get my mouse turned on here. Did that turn on? No. Let me get over to modeling. That might work a little bit better. Let's try this. Let's see. Try this. There we go. All right. So what I wanted to show you is I know I explained at one point that over here in the menu that even though you're on metric, it will take imperial units, right? But another cool thing is, like, say along this X this X axis, right? If I don't really know, like say if I'm working with imperial and I know it's an 1/8 inch, but I don't know the decimal equivalent, you can literally put in 1/8 inch, and there you go. It'll give you the decimal equivalent. Now, did I put it in 1/8 inch? Because that doesn't seem quite right. Let's try that again. 1/8 inch. Yeah, I guess that's right. All right. So that gives us, it's pretty thin, right? So it gives us that. For the y-axis, I'm going to go, I guess about 4 inches. All right. We're starting to look signpostish there. And since the holes were 1 inch on center, uh, you know what? I'm going to make the whole thing just 1 inch tall. I got an idea here. Stick with me. Ooh, we're getting down there. We're getting pretty small. All right. So now that I was in object mode and I kind of changed everything all around, let me move that up just a little bit there. And I'm going to rotate that on the z-axis 90 degrees. There we go. Okay. So like I said, since I was in object mode and I scaled everything, not rotated everything. Not sure what I even said there. You can see I goofed up my scale here a little bit. So I am going to reset that. I'm going to Control A. I'm just going to do all transforms. See, now with all transforms, you'll notice that my you'll notice that my origin was right here in the middle. Okay. And when I reset transforms, it moved it down here to the world origin. Right. So that's something to keep in mind when you are resetting all transforms. Scale obviously just resets to scale, but when you're resetting like translations, that also, that also resets everything back to here, right back to its world center, right? So keep that in mind when you're working on that. And in my case, that's what I wanted, right? Because this world origin, when you import, right, when you finish your model and you import back into Giants Editor or export into Giants Editor, depending on which program you're using, exporting, exporting from Blender, importing with GE. This dot is where it's exactly that origin point is the point that it uses to place the object. So if this origin was up here in the middle, right, when it placed this object, it would place it at ground level right there. So half of my object would be buried underneath the terrain on GE. So that's why we keep things down bottom here. We either keep it in the middle, so we can rotate, it'll rotate around this central axis here, or we keep it, I usually keep it down on a corner and then I can, rotate the whole thing as I need to, right? So that origin is important, one, as you're working, but also it's important, vitally important. I don't want to say vital, but it's pretty darn important when you get into Giants Editor. All right, so how am I going to do this? I want to pick up that shape. I want that U shape that we had there, right? Or close to it. So I think I'm going to start by get myself into edit mode. I'm going to select everything, and I'm going to subdivide this. All right. Okay, so let's see. Now I'm winging this, so if it doesn't work out the way I want, don't sue me. All right, I have an idea here that I think will work. Okay, so I'm going to get into wireframe mode, face select, and I'm just going to pick these front faces here. Okay, now get me into a top-down view. That's number 7 on my keypad. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this proportional editing here. And with just these front, see what I have, just the fronts, just this front, the middle section, all the faces, both sides. I have everything selected, top down mode. I'm going to G to move. All right, now, actually, let me go G, but I need to, since it's been proportional editing, I got to shrink down my little area of whatever you want to call it. And I'm just going to pull on that. Let me try that. You know what? I don't even think I really need that. All right, so let's stop that. Let me get that turned off. Let me just try G and then move on the Z axis. Okay, and I didn't do anything. G. Oh boy, what do I have going on here? My Lord, this is how it goes for me sometimes. All right, let me pick this again. All right, now G to grab. Oh, Z. Okay, I was moving on the Z axis. I need to move it on the Y axis. Oh, there we go. Um, yeah, I guess that's kind of the shape. Sort of a little bit deeper, maybe. Yeah, okay, we'll stick with that. Now I know in the image we were looking at, it was saying from here to here, right? That this depth right here was an eighth inch. All right. Or was it 3/8 of an inch? Or 1 1/8 of an inch? I don't know. I don't really care because I'm not going to use that. I just wanted to point that out. If you guys were looking to, be completely accurate, like just nuts on, it was 1 3/8 of an inch. Boy, was I not correct on that one. But anyhow, for me, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to stick with that. All right. So let me get back up into this view. All right. Get me back into a more solid mode here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into, I'm going to look at it number one on my keypad, my number pad. I'm going to go into front orthographic. All right. Let me go back into wireframe mode and I'm going to select this very center dot here. I'm going to try and line myself up right in the middle. I'm going to shift and right click. Okay. So what that did is that moved my 3D cursor right smack dab into the middle of this thing. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go back into object mode and I'm going to bring in a new object. I'm going to mesh and I'm going to bring in a cylinder. And oh my Lord, that's a cylinder. All right. So this said, I'm going to rotate it on the X axis 90 degrees. Okay. And that didn't do what I wanted it to do. What is going on? Things are not working the way I want them to today. What's going on here? Maybe did I move something that's not rotate X? Let's try rotate X. Oh, what the heck? Now it wants to move. Okay. Let's just do it this way, I guess. When I talk about doing things the hard way. Oh, no, I can't. Geez, 90 degrees, man. That was really the hard way. All right. So let's not do that again in the future. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shrink this down to, I believe it said 1/8 inch. So X and Z should be 1/8 inch. And I'm just going to put in 1/8 inch. Oops. And that did not take. Why did it not take? Is my number pad. Oh, that's why my rotation wasn't working. My number lock was off. All right. So 1/8 inch. And boy, did that get 0.0104. We'll do that on the Z. 0.0104. All right. So let's have a look at that now. And that did not work at all the way I wanted it to. What did I do there? Man, I am flopping on this big time. Let's get me out of here. Okay, that's where I want it. Let's try to just scale it down. And it gets really small. All right, point. All right, I'm going to go closer and then I'm just going to keep scaling. About doing things the hard way. My Lord. This is how it goes for me sometimes. Well, you live and you learn. Okay, what's that 0.0104, right? Let's just do this. 0.0104. And by the way, I'm positive that all of this it makes very little difference. I could have put just about anything in there and I think it would have been fine. But I need to do that on the X as well or on the Y. No. Why do things not look right? My Z axis. First of all, I'm upside down. So that's not. It's going to be one of those videos like, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. I can see that already. There we go. Now we're getting there. 5, 4. So they all needed to be that way. See, now if I scale on the Y axis, are my axes no, they're right. I don't know. Never had that kind of issue. All right. So that did say 1/8 inch hole, right? Because that looks kind of small. Let's go back there and check that. 3/8 inch holes. Oh my Lord, Bauer. You are just definitely one of those videos. Do as I say, not as I do. All right, so let's try 3/8 inch holes. And I'm sure most of you guys probably seen that coming. 0, 3, 1, 2. Why is that doing that? That's so weird. 0.03, 1, 2, E. Either way. Ay, ay, ay. All right. So you can see what I did there is I had made myself a little cylinder there, and I plopped it smack dab dead in the middle of this. All right. And you can probably guess where I'm going with this at this rate, right? So I'm going to go back, select my cube, go to modifiers. Okay. And I am going to add a Boolean modifier, and I'm going to select that cylinder as my object. All right. So if I hide the cylinder, you can see right there's the hole that I'm going for. I want that hole. All right. So I can just apply it right away and delete this cylinder because I don't need it anymore. All right. So now I have that, and it's exactly 1 inch tall. Right. So if I stack these, my holes should be 1 inch on center. Right. And all of these dimensions, honestly, eyeballing it, especially for a video game, is just fine, right? I mean, try to get somewhat accurate, but anyhow, I have a feeling that because I subdivided it the way that I did, this has to be cleaned up a lot before I would export it into Giants Editor. That's for sure. All right. Once I get done here, I'm going to keep an eye on. Let's go up here because I have a feeling that this is going to be out of hand. Yeah, I'm already at 448 triangles or 184 faces. All right. All right. So anyhow, let's keep moving here. So the next thing I want to do is we're going to add yet another modifier. And this one is going to be the array modifier. Now, I don't want it side to side like that, right? I want it going up and down. So I'm going to do this on the Z-axis. So let's change factor X to 0. And then 1, or the Z, I'm just going to put the 1, right? There you go. Okay, so now I got 2 of them here. And I want to make this about 4 feet tall. Now, since I know that these are 1 inch, right? I can put as many as I want in here. I'm just going to put 48 for 48 inches. All right, back that up a little bit. Okay, and that actually doesn't look too shabby. That looks pretty good. All right, so let's apply that. Actually, I need to be in object mode to do that. I was already in object mode. Let's pick the cube. I am having issues today. I'm shooting this video very early in the morning. I work night shift. And I just pulled a 10-hour shift, and here I am, 6 o'clock in the morning, doing this video so these guys have it for later today. And I'm full of excuses also, if you haven't noticed that. All right, so you can see what happened there, right? So the modifier is not quite applied just yet. All right, you can see that right here is the only piece that's really making a difference. So not making a difference, but having an effect, right? So if I clean up any of my in edit mode, if I clean up any of these edges and stuff in here, we'll see what happens when I start cleaning these up. It'll affect the rest of them as well. Okay, so let's try and dissolve those. All right, that wasn't too bad. Let's try this. I don't really want to touch that middle part there because of that hole. I know this one will probably be okay, and this one. All right, well, actually, I probably only need one of those lines. Yes, I only do need one of them. See, it needs at least one of these lines. If I try to, yeah, see, it won't let me Won't let me dissolve any more than that. All right, so that's fairly cleaned up. I guess I could probably clean up these other edges here. And if, like I said, if this is something that you guys are going to put into Giants Editor, this is going to make a difference, right? You don't want to have like a ton of extra geometry there when you bring it in, because it's going to get, like I said, it can get out of hand really fast. And especially with something like this, if it's a post, right? Because, what are you going to be doing with a post? You're probably going to be putting one after another after another. If it's a fence post, sign post, maybe not such a big deal, but if your geometry is like way, way up there, it's not going to, it's going to have, especially with fences, it's going to have an impact on your map. No doubt about that. Putting, if the face count or triangle count, the geometry count was super high, and you're putting one after another, after another, after another, after another, your FPS is going to crawl. It's going to be horrible. All right, so let me get back into edit mode so I can finally apply this here. All right, so now we have what looks to be, a finished, mostly finished post here. So I can go back into edit mode. You can look at my geometry now. I'm at 16,000, almost 17,000 triangles. Now I do entire prefab like houses and stuff like that, and I try not to exceed 10,000 on the entire house. Now it's fine if I do. I mean, you can go much higher and it won't be a big issue. The sides, it looks like I could have cleaned up a lot more. So there's a lot that can be cleaned up on this, and I can bring that count down not pretty darn low, but significantly lower. But I'd want to get really low before I tried using this object inside a Giants Editor. So this is more of an example of what can be done. And it's not a really practical example. Like I said, if you clean it up a lot more, let me run this through my InstaClean and see how clean we can actually get it. Let's see here. I'm just going to go for the big one here. Go for clean. Whoa. Well, I got rid of almost 10,000 triangles. And there's still a lot there, though. Holy cow. Is that really what I want? You know what? Let me get back out of here, because you know what it did? Let's try. Let's go. Just bear with me for 1 second. Something changed here. Something is not right with my InstaClean. There should be a, no, that's just the results. I was going to say something didn't seem right. That's what it was. Oh my God. I'm telling you, it's that kind of day. All right. So we'll go into repair. Okay. We'll get rid of 940 manifold. Dissolve is a big one. We're going to skip topology because I don't want to convert that to try. We'll do normals, and that's it. All right. So we are down to 8,000 without all that extra craziness going on. You can see how the edges look a lot nicer. And 8,000, yeah, like I said, I do entire houses that are less than 10. I still think 8,000 is kind of high if you were to line up one post after another, after another, after another. All right, so I'm going to quickly get into this, into my shaded view here, right? I'm going to get into object mode, and we're just going to give this a quick color, right? We're just going to give it like a green color here. Darken that up a little bit. Okay, something like so. Now, if I wanted to, you can see some of these, and it's mostly you see them on like barbed wire fences. You can give it like a white top. That's not really what I want. Let's go to face select. Try that again. Yeah, you see this a lot on barbed wire fences. It's got a green bottom and a white top. And here I would just give it a new material and keep that white how it is. And I'm going to press assign. All right. And that would be it. That would be our fence post. All right. Which looks okay. Doesn't look too bad. So you can see it didn't take long, and especially the way I was screwing things up, I was basically fumbling through this whole thing. So you can see even with me like really barking things pretty good, it didn't take long, right? It didn't take long at all. It's just, a little bit of thinking, right? Have yourself like some diagram like I looked at here, something you could look at. Obviously, that doesn't look exactly like this. This channel here is much deeper in here than what I have going on. I have mine's much shorter. I could have made that as deep as I wanted to. And here's the thing, when you're done, you don't need to if you want it deeper, make it deeper. You're not locked into this. All right. So let me go back into edit mode. I can still select all these center objects here, and I can still pull that along the y axis and make that deeper if I want to. So if I want something more like that, there you go. All right. So actually, it looks better. I should have just done that from the beginning. It looks a lot better, actually. Oh, there you go. Who knew? I created something. Yeah, like I said though, looking at the triangle count, that's something that I wouldn't I personally I might use one instance of it if I needed it for something. But I definitely, maybe for a sign that might be okay. Even that though, 8,000 is quite large for a signpost. There are probably many other ways that you can replicate a look something like this without getting up into 8,000. Like I said, I just wanted to use this as an example, for the array modifier, how easy it was to put all these holes in there, super easy. And holes, I think, is something that I don't want to say a lot of people struggle with. I know that I did personally. I wanted to put holes and stuff. And then we're talking the very beginning. I wanted to make something along these lines, and I had no clue. Man, I tried. I Googled things, and it told me to use a Boolean modifier, but that didn't make any sense. It was confusing. But hopefully it's a little bit easier for you guys now, right? Modifiers are nothing to be intimidated by. Um, like I said, there's just like a layer in Photoshop. You can try it out. If you don't like it, don't use it. Easy enough. One thing I do suggest with all of your models, and this is stuff I'm learning even to this very day. Last night I had an issue where I wish I would have done it. I'm pretty good about it. Make a backup, right? Whether you take this cube and you just duplicate it here and you just, copy paste it, and then you have, keep one of them hidden. If you want, you can do it that way. This way, when you totally screw the pooch and you do something that you just can't fix, you have another copy that you can start over with, or just save another copy, right? Save a backup copy. I did that. It's the prefab house that I'm working on for the new map. And I did something. I screwed up the front porch on this thing and I just couldn't fix it. And I didn't have a backup. And so I basically, it's hard to explain, but I had to kind of tear everything out and do the best that I could to fix it with what I had. It would have been a lot easier if I just had a backup, but I didn't. Most of my objects, I would say now, most of my models, 90 some percent of them, I definitely have a backup. And like I said, I totally recommend that because trust me, you're going to need it at some point. I still do, so it is what it is. So like I said, so you can see how easy, it was that, we used a lot of our things in there. We used grab, we could have used proportional editing there, but I ended up not needing it, but that would have been a good example. The array modifier that got all of our, the Boolean modifier got our holes in there. The array modifier let us stack them up one on top of each other, and that got us, 48 inches overall. I'm sure if I go into item here, you can see, I was already in object mode. Yep. You can see that I'm 4 feet tall and I'm not really great with decimals, but you can see that these mean that it's thin and it's, it's not very wide. All right. About 4 inches wide, give or take. It's probably not 4 inches anymore because maybe it still is. Yeah, I guess it's about 4 inches. That might be a bit wide for a post like that. I would have probably went with 2.5 to 3, but either way, you get the idea. So we still incorporated a lot of the things that we had learned. Now I know applying the materials and stuff and at least giving it just a generic color, something we haven't done yet, but we will. Right. And I can go through and I can change all of these, I can change all of these settings here and make it look more metallic, less metallic. And these are all things that you can do in Giants Editor as well. And these colors right here, these basic colors will carry over to Giants Editor, right? Normally I would give it a texture, but something this simple, right? Very simple. you don't necessarily have to give it a texture. A color is just fine. And this would look okay inside of a Giants editor. And we'll get into all this later. Like without like a proper shader and stuff, things tend to turn out kind of dark. A lot of that has to do with your specular map and stuff like that. And I'll explain all that when we get there. But there you go. So that was just a simple example of something that you can build, with just, I took 10 minutes like to look on Google and see what kind of post I wanted to make, stumbled across that and figured that would be a pretty good example with all the holes and stuff like that. And I thought it was a good example of how you can start with just a teeny tiny little area, 1 inch tall. This whole thing's 4 feet tall, but I only had to work on that one little object, right? Instead of, can you imagine putting all these holes in here, right? Without using the array modifier to stack everything, and then just one by one by one, trying to keep these holes 1 inch on center. And I'm fairly confident that these are 1 inch on center. No, I don't know if I can measure this with my measuring tool here. I can get pretty close. Let me see from here. Oops. Am I not measuring? I'm not measuring. Jesus mighty. Okay, we'll go from here to there. Yeah, it's probably not entirely accurate. But either way, you get the idea. Pretty good, though, for what we got. So that is going to be it for this video. I'm going to wrap it up. Hopefully you were able to follow along with that. And I was screwing things up left and right. So if you couldn't follow that, I apologize. But you got a pretty good idea of what is possible. Now, I don't want to say look forward to it, but our next couple of videos, we're probably going to jump back into just a couple more like functions that you can use, a little bit more functionality, bisecting, stuff like that. We'll learn about the knife tool, a few other things that are going to come in really handy. And the only reason I want to go over these are because they're things that I use almost on a daily basis. And probably when we get into our final prefab, I don't know what it's going to be yet. It's not going to be something super crazy and not like super intricate, like a big, full blown out barn or, completely customized placeable, but like a garage or a shed or, something along those lines. Right. Maybe even a house. A house really isn't that bad. I can get one a day done pretty quickly. And that's without putting that much time into it. When I say one a day, I'm not talking a whole day. I'm just a couple hours, and I could pound it out and it looks relatively okay. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe, it might take a video or two, but we can build a house. That's not a problem. We'll texture the whole thing. It'll look really good. We'll export it into Giants Editor and you can use it. You can use it in your own maps. It's going to be fun. Look forward to it. All right. All righty. So I'm coming up on a half an hour. I might already even be there. So that's it. Hopefully you learned something. Like I said, next video, brace yourself. We're going to get into more terminology, stuff like that. So, but we are getting close to wrapping up the series. Just a little bit left to go. Alrighty. Hope you enjoyed. So like I said, if you find these videos helpful in any way, shape or form, definitely like and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. One of the other things that I want to just throw out there is as my user base grows, I spend a lot of time every day answering questions, a ton of time. It's finally gotten to the point that I'm going to start giving preference to the subscribers when it comes to answering these questions. Cause there's a ton of, there's a ton of questions that I answer where people aren't subscribed, but I don't really care. You know what I mean? I'm here to help. That's what I want to do. But I have to be able to pick and choose at some point. You know what I mean? It's not fair to, the subscribers to, if they're waiting a day or two for an answer. So I'm going to have to at some point start, picking and choosing. So keep that in mind. If you're not subscribed, you may not get an answer as quickly as you would like. Not on purpose. I have to do something at this point. And you never know if this channel gets big enough. I may not even be able to give that kind of treatment to subscribers. It might end up having to move that into like members or Patreons and that's not foreshadowing. I don't really have any intention of that at this moment. It's going to be a long, long time for that. Anyhow, I'm starting to babble. So let me stop right there. And with that being said, I'm Bauer Brown and I will see you on the next one.